as a leader. I'm already personified by the people around me. If I play into that and don't think I can show any kind of weakness in humanity because I feel like if they see me mess up, I will blow this whole thing, I actually distance myself and I'm no longer leading, I'm a tyrant. They need to see our humanity. The integrity runs hand in hand with that vulnerability.
Welcome to the Crucible Project Podcast. The Crucible Project is a nonprofit organization committed to creating a world of men and women who live with integrity, grace, and courage, helping them to fulfill their God-given purpose. This podcast will discuss important and sometimes difficult topics while delivering practical life applications with men and women who are currently practicing this work. We are igniting Christ-like change in men and women through experiences of radical honesty and grace.
Welcome back to the Crucible Project Podcast. This is Roy Wooten. I'm hosting today. I'm happy to be in the Real Christian Manhood series with Byron Myers, our men's ministry director. Welcome, Byron.
Hello. Good to see you again.
You've been leading Crucible retreats for, 10 years or more. Been involved in service all over the country and in other countries. And you have dozens and dozens of men within Crucible who lead with you. And you're the steward of all of that and chair of our leader council. And in addition to that, thousands of men follow you within the Crucible Project. And yet you're also at the same time engaged in your church and have been asked to be teaching in your church around Christian manhood. So I wonder if we can have a conversation about that today.
You bet. Yeah. You and I talked about it in another podcast, but our church is very man-focused. And that's what drew me. It drew my wife to that church. We have just done a man summit, over 900 men, and the church wanted to create a program called the Gauntlet, two-year stretch of different topics that men can go through, 36 in a time, and several teachers. I'm not the only teacher, but there are several teachers across 7 campuses, and men need to go through all of these different series, and they get some award and get recognized at the end in 2 years. But I've been fortunate to get to lead the manhood one and the leadership one, or I'm currently leading the leadership ones. It's been a fun ride working with these men in this way.
I am so impressed with a church who sees men's ministry as important and doing things intentionally to engage men, and that takes engaging them in masculine ways. More and more churches are moving that direction, and I'm very thankful that Crucible Project has some tools to help them, especially those who will lead in men's ministry at their church. Wonderful tools to help. So Byron, why does the curriculum, the Gauntlet, emphasize character over title when it comes to leadership?
Yeah, well, you think about and consider the leaders that you see. So many people, so many men, let me just put it in the category of men. So many men that we look to and say, oh, what a great leader. They're a CEO or they're a CFO or a COO or they lead some kind of organization. Oftentimes, those guys, there may be some leadership skill in there. There has to be for them to get there, but they're really not as great a leader as you think. They have the title. They worked to get to that position. They have a lot of knowledge, and they can sign the paycheck. But if you go and start talking to some of the people that work under some of those men, they say, I have to keep this job, but if I weren't working here, I would not follow that man.
Mm-hmm.
So the title sometimes will put us in a leadership role, but if we don't have good character, people will not follow. There's a pastor out there who once said, key people often do not leave jobs, they leave leaders. And if that person doesn't have character, then people are going to struggle following, and they're going to find their way out or get themselves fired even.
Yeah. Well, I think about men that I've known as leaders who might be leading well enough to accomplish great things, but then they're not leading themselves, so they blow it up.
Yeah.
How do you help men understand that leadership begins first with them leading themselves?
Yeah. Well, I start that whole series with, you got to know who you are. What is your identity? You got to know who you are. I appreciate our church woven into a lot of what is being taught through this 2-year series, not just in the gauntlet, but we're in a 2-year series at our church overall, is who are you? Your identity. What makes you you? And how are you that in Christ? And then what are you doing with it? And so it's so important, one, that you know who you are. Two, leading yourself means looking at how can I be more healthy emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of those, mentally, reading more. As a leader, you have got to read, even if it's audio, even if it's small snippets, you need to be reading. And you don't even have to finish a book. I had a mentee, he's a little older than I am, who said, yeah, it's not important that you finish a book, although finishing is important. Sometimes when you get the gist of what you needed and it fits who you are right now, you got what you needed out of that book. So to decide and move to the next one. But the emotional side too, really important to understand. This isn't a touchy-feely, but it is if I am not aware of the emotion that I have, then they run me, they control me. And so there are all kinds of aspects of leading ourselves. A good friend of mine said the best gift you can give to the people around you is a better you. And you've got to build on you. And it isn't just where am I weak and I get stronger. It is where are my strengths and how do I just live in them? How do I live in them? Right? Living in my strengths. So those are some of the ways of leading yourself to get you in a space to lead others.
Yeah, I've run into men in my career who want to be leaders, but their life is messy, their personal life is messy, their finances are a mess, their health is a mess, and it's not someone that most others will follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you begin with leading yourself. There's some mention of 5 different traits: others first, encouragement, vulnerability, initiative, and integrity. Which of those 5 traits do you think most men struggle with the most, and why?
Yeah, I think there are 3 that run close together where the biggest struggle. Vulnerability, because we don't know what that looks like. Initiative is huge, and integrity, because we often misrepresent integrity out there. The vulnerability part is it's not an overshare. It is not a weak meek, but it is I own my stuff and I recognize I am not the best at everything. There are things I'm really good at. There are others I'm not. It's a humility with a boldness together on the vulnerability. It's kind of like you talking about me. I'm glad you said it the way you did of our leader council. I'm a steward. These leaders that are on this council, they're some of the best leaders I have ever met in my life. And who am I to be guiding this group? So, yeah, I'm a steward. That's a humility, though. That's a vulnerability that men need to have, is recognize I get to be a leader over some brilliant people in some way. I have a responsibility. That's humbling. And to say God is the only way that helps me get through that, if they can believe that, to speak that, that's very, very important. Initiative is huge. There are men who either throw mud because they're not getting promoted into leadership positions, or they just wander off and disappear because they never would ask. They want to be noticed without taking some initiative. I wouldn't be teaching in my church if I didn't go to the pastors and say, hey, I'm part of a men's ministry that is international and it's super important in the Crucible Project, and I think I can help. Where can I be a resource for you? If I don't take that initiative, I'm not teaching. They don't know who I am walking around with Crucible Project on my shirt. So initiative is huge in leadership. And then integrity. Are you what you say you are? Do you match up? Do you do what you say you're going to do? And when you don't, do you own it and renegotiate and try to make it up in some other area? But are you living aligned? That's integrity. I use an example while I'm in that class where integrity can go both ways and it still be integrity. Like I pick a man that I know and I tell this man here, I don't like you much and I'm really not going to have much to do with you. And then I live that. I don't have anything to do with him. I ignore him. I have nothing. Now, that's not being gentle and nice to another Christian man, but I am in integrity because I told him I don't like him and I treat him like I don't like him, right?
Yeah.
It's a simple example, but the same's true on the positive side, right? If I say I'm going to be this way, then I need to be this way. That's my integrity. When I keep an agreement, I've made an agreement and a commitment that I need to finish. I'm out of integrity if I don't finish that commitment. Anyway,
You and I both learned from our founder, Greg Houston, the pillars of integrity, we call them.
absolutely.
And this idea that, hey, I really enjoyed our time together, let's get together again, but then I never take action on it is not
Yes.
an integrity. Or telling my wife I'll be home at 6, but I show up at 6:30 without even letting her know I'm going to be late.
Yeah,
Integrity. I mean,
exactly.
it's simple. Are you doing what you say you're doing? Are you keeping your
Exactly.
agreements? Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. I want to go back to vulnerability.
Yeah.
How does vulnerability from a leader actually strengthen a team rather than weaken it?
Yeah. So they need to see the leader as human. As a leader, me as a leader, I'm already personified by the people around me. And so they're going to project. They're going to project up there as to way I need to be. And if I play into that and don't think I can show any kind of weakness in humanity because I feel like, oh, I'm so responsible. If they see me mess up, I will blow this whole thing. I just keep working higher and higher. I actually distance myself and I'm no longer leading. I'm a tyrant,
Mm.
right? And or whatever it is, right? That there's a separation. We do have to be separate as leaders because we're going ahead, but it's not in the way we try to do it. They need to see our humanity. So they need to know we own our choices. The integrity runs hand in hand with that vulnerability. When I own that, you know what? I'm out of integrity with you and I'm going to hold myself in account with you. And here are the choices I made. Here's the way that it probably affected you. And this is the way I want to do it going forward. And I'm willing that if I'm not there, you can call me on it. That's vulnerability. There's a humility in that and leads people so deeply. They draw to that and want to follow a leader like that.
I think you're exactly right. Like authentic leaders are like magnets because it's just
Mhm.
so rare.
Yeah.
And the very thing that people are scared about vulnerability, the very thing that they're afraid about vulnerability, they actually are creating because they're not vulnerable, because they're not living authentically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Crucible, our incredible experience of our initial retreat, we talk about several Bible characters. We want to be like Jesus. And so we talk a lot about Jesus, the man, Jesus as a model for us. And we also talk about the incredible story of Jacob that became Israel and that
Mhm.
transformation. In the gauntlet, y'all talk about Joshua and Moses and Nehemiah and Daniel. How do stories of men like that shape the leadership expectations you're calling men into?
Yeah, it's good to look at their leadership and see how does that relate to me? I remember, like you said, Founder Greg Houston on a second level weekend, we actually look at several characters and several aspects of leadership. And we look at those and say, which one of those fits me the closest? And I'm one of those that said, well, I could take aspects of that one and that one and that one. But we can all do that by looking at those leaders and say, okay, where is this me? Where is it not? And how did they work it out? And how did they walk with God when they worked it out? And we see both. We see success in those leadership people. We also see failures in some of those. There's the reluctant leader. There's the one who's needed in the moment leader. All these different types of situational leadership that we can relate to. You and I both growing up in the same faith realm, one of the passages that would stick with me, and it probably did you, is understanding deeper truths, right? Deacons and overseers and elders had to understand a deeper truth. Looking at these biblical characters, and I hate to call them characters, they're men, these biblical men, and looking deeper into their life besides just the story that we get in church helps us grow. The Spirit takes that and puts it on us, and we can see, wow, these are some aspects of leadership you would have never thought about coming out of the Bible.
Right. A personal question here. Is there a Bible character that you're particularly drawn to?
David, probably for the most part, when it comes to leadership, because there were several things within his leadership that are impressive. And the one that I hammer on a lot, and I learned from a preaching friend of mine, but it has stuck with me, is to be a leader, you also need to know how to be under leaders. To be an authority, you must be under authority, be able to submit to authority. And David had 2 opportunities to kill Saul, and God would have blessed him because he was already the anointed king, but he chose to say, I will not lay my hand on the Lord's anointed in both cases. And he even killed the man who held the sword while Saul ran himself through and came and bragged and said, I killed Saul.
Yeah.
You laid your hand on the Lord's anointed, and he had him killed. He understood to be an authority, I must be under authority. I had a man actually ask me, he's a business owner. I use this in the class. He's a business owner and the doctor. He said, I'm the doctor, I'm the owner, I'm the boss, I'm over all it. Who am I under authority? I said, well, you go to church here, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right, I get it. Right. He's under pastors and elders. All right. He had to think outside of what authority.
Right.
And I said, if you don't have an authority, you need to find one to put yourself under.
Yeah, and being a good follower makes me a better leader. You and I have talked about this before. For most of my life, most of the rooms I'm in, I end up being the leader of. And one of the gifts to me at Crucible was I followed, at least for a couple of years. I'm still following some men
Yeah.
that are leaders within Crucible. And it's a gift to me. It's a gift not to be the guy that leads in every room.
Absolutely. You and I both are on leader teams on the weekends. And when we are not the retreat leader, then that means we are on the leader team, we are involved, we speak in, but we don't make the final decision. And it is comforting.
It's
For
nice. It's nice to yield the decisions. Yeah. So I want to circle back a bit around leading yourself, particularly around the busyness that we're in. Most men who are leading in their company, their business, or entrepreneur, pastors at their churches, etc., are busy. So what does leading yourself practically look like in the life of a busy man?
I wish I had that nut cracked because I'm a busy man. Yeah. In theory, I just really need to do better, but delegating is a piece of it, right? Really pouring into somebody else so that they can take a portion of it. What often happens, you and I do it, I know, as we've talked about it, that needs to get done. It'll just be faster and easier because I know. And I just put it over their shoulder and run with it. It'd probably be better if I said, hey, this looks like a good thing that you can do. Let's see if you can try that out. Give it to them, guide them a little bit. The pain of guiding them a little bit is less than the pain of actually putting it on our back. Yeah. So that delegating and empowering, I think, were 2 huge pieces of busyness. The other is, what can we say no to and what can we let expire? We have some commitments that need to finish. They don't bring us energy. We've got to let that expire. And no matter how badly somebody wants us to do it again, we're going to have to let that go away and somebody else take that. And then there are just some things we just have to say no to. And boy, that's hard.
Yeah, our founder, Greg Houston's voice is in my ear right now saying, every time you say yes, you're saying no to something. Every time you say no, you're saying yes to something. Choose what your yes and no is. Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no, right? What are early warning signs a leader is neglecting his own heart, body, or spirit?
Escapism, the dread the dread that a leader has as he goes into next day or next task. Yeah, anger that's out of balance, right? It's quick snap, and you go, where did that come from? That's a piece of it. Yeah, and then unhealthy behavior,
Yeah.
drinking more than you should, or pornography, or those ought to be red flag warning signs rather than yellow flag of you want to escape or dreading or short anger outbursts. Those are just a few, but
Yeah.
those are some of the warning signs. What came to mind for you?
Yeah, I think so. There's usually a nagging or a sense of overwhelm within us
Yeah,
that that's arising when things are out of whack somewhere in our life. If I don't have my regular time with God, if I'm not sitting with God every day, I can tell later in the day that I missed that, right?
yeah,
And sometimes it's really a small nagging thing, but I think you're right. Feeling burned out, feeling overwhelmed, anxiety, those are the things that feeling isolated, those are the things that are kind of telltale signs something's about to go awry.
yeah,
And I like to say isolation is where Satan takes Christian men out,
yeah,
doing life with. And that's one of the beautiful things about the Crucible Project. Not only do we have an intense weekend that challenges men in the places around integrity, responsibility, and their emotional presence in their world, and gives you an opportunity to do some really incredible wrestling with God around the things that you're doing that are different than the kind of man you want to be, right? The patterns of behavior that you do, and you're like, I can't believe I just did that. So not only do we have those intense experience that is just so powerfully transformative and improves your leadership ability for yourself and how you will lead others and how you'll show up in all the
absolutely.
different places that you lead. But there's a community that connects
Yeah,
and prevents us from, if we
yeah,
engage it, needing to ever feel isolated, live in isolation, or be leading in isolation ever again in our lives.
yeah.
Very
Agreed.
powerful. Byron, this has been a great interview. Thoroughly enjoyed it, as I always do when we're together. What would you tell a listener, a man who's listening right now, that would challenge him to move in a direction of being the man that he wants to be in his life?
Yeah. Do not do it alone. We talked about it, but do not do it alone. And so, we offer the Crucible Project. That's very important to you and I, because we've seen thousands make transformation towards that. But put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable with the way you're doing it, and somebody is helping you look at it. And Crucible does that, but coaching can do that. Yeah. I think of the story where Xerxes is making a decision about the Jews, and Haman is his yes man. Yes, they need to be eliminated. And he decides to listen to Mordecai, which is against what everybody else wanted to do. And it saved a whole nation, right? Don't sit and try to do it by yourself, and be careful that you have too many yes people. It's okay if somebody disagrees. Even if you disagree with them, they're still going to make you think and go out and work on it and let you look inside. So get in positions where you are challenged is the way you're doing it. Again, we offer one of the best ways to do that with the Crucible Project.
In 2026, if you're thinking about investing in yourself, please consider the Crucible Project. I believe you have 48 retreats scheduled, men's retreats this next year, Byron. And I know that God shows up every time and blesses those men who take the courage to put themselves in that situation. If we can help you in any way, check out thecrucibleproject.org. You can also click and connect with Byron there through the contact form. He also does men's retreats for churches and men's Saturday small breakfasts. Whatever you've got going on, if you're looking for a resource, you can connect with him there. Byron, anything else before we go?
And I'm grateful that you and I do this. We do not have enough of this out there in the world. And men need this. Men are called to be spiritual leaders of their house. They need this work.
Yep, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Hey, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, do it now and be watching for the next podcast to drop next week. God bless you on your journey. See you soon.
For more information about our weekends, please go to thecrucibleproject.org. Or if you're ready to get started on your transformational journey right now, you can connect with one of our Crucible certified coaches for a free 30-minute session at thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. That's thecrucibleproject.org/coaching. If you like what you heard, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Rate and review wherever you're listening, and don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform. Thank you for listening.